Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am not here with Geeky Sparkles. She's not in this video. I know you're disappointed. She will be back. She is way busier than I am this weekend. So you're stuck with me, but we're going to talk about journalists losing their jobs, journalists losing their poop. It's not a good time to be a journalist, guys. I'm going to be completely honest. And this is coming from a guy who started out as a journalist. I started out in my long, not so illustrious career as a journalist, first as an editor, and then I wound up being a managing editor, and I did beat reporting and all that jazz before I made the jump into the internet stuff. And it's just not a good time. It is not a good time to be working in this industry. So we're going to see a lot of salt, I think, on Twitter, for sure. If they haven't rage quit Twitter already and gone to Mastodon like everybody threatens they're going to do, they're all going to go to Mastodon. A lot of websites being shut down, a lot of newspapers being shuttered. We're going to talk about ABC, Disney laying people off at ABC. Lots of people that have been there for decades, getting gone. And if you go out to DizDining.com, they're taking a page right out of the Clownfish playbook. No one is safe. No one's safe. Layoff shock and disbelief rain down on ABC News. So we'll talk about that. Maybe talk about CEOs, what they're saying. A lot of these CEOs of doomed companies like BuzzFeed is just bad. We'll look at the timeline here and you can see how bad it is. So again, most of these journos live on Twitter or have lived on Twitter. And I think beyond the job loss for a lot of them, the loss of the platform, the loss of the ability to tell us what to think and what to do, that is going to be a bigger sticking point, I think, with a lot of these people, because they really do, a lot of them, unfortunately, get off on telling us what to think and what to do. And they're not going to be able to do that anymore if their publications shut down. They get laid off. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. I think we're over 300,000 subs now. I'm going to wait and see before we do any kind of official announcement, because YouTube tends to, things tend to fluctuate. But yeah, so we're around 300,000 subs. Thank you for the support. I think I need to stop asking for subs. It is kind of annoying. I admit it. I completely admit it. But we wanted to get to 300,000. So thank you. Thank you very much. Forbes 2023 media layoff tracker. Rough year for journalism, marked by increasing layoffs. And they have a timeline. And this is just up until right before Disney laid a bunch of people off at ABC. But the Texas Observer is on hiatus, and it laid off its 17-person staff following a prolonged economic woes and shrinking readership. NPR, we talked about that. They canceled 4 podcasts, and podcasts are actually doing very well now. People aren't giving them money like they were, probably because they realize that NPR is basically propaganda, government propaganda at this point. New England Media, one of their affiliates, announced it's going to lay off 20% of its staff. Seacoast Media and Gannett laying off hundreds. They have hundreds of papers. They're laying off 34 people, and they're closing a printing press. Remember print? Print was a thing. Alabama newspapers are becoming fully digital. WNYC cancels radio show The Takeaway after 15 years. It became too expensive to produce amid a declining audience, and an unspecified number of people were laid off. News Corp owns the Wall Street Journal and HarperCollins Publishers, among others, expects to lay off 1,200 people across all businesses by the end of 2023. The Washington Post stops publishing its video game and kids sections, leaving 20 people unemployed, and they're talking that they're probably going to sell it. Jeff Bezos is probably going to sell the Washington Post altogether. This is why everybody was scrambling to unionize, because they wanted to make sure that they got a good parachute when the end comes. Adweek lays off 14 people. Vox Media laid off 7% of the media conglomerate staff. We've been covering all of this. Fandom, this is the big one. Fandom laid off people at GameSpot, Giant Bomb, Metacritic, TV Guide, after they acquired the 4 outlets, among others, for $55 million. CBS paid like $500 million for all these websites. They got gutted. It goes on and on. NBC News and MSNBC laid off 75 employees. Gannett closes another printing press in New York. Gannett lays off 50 employees at Indiana printing press. It goes on and on and on. And we've talked about BuzzFeed. We've talked about Vice and Vox and all of these garbage tier, digital media sites. And everybody's like, oh, it's the economy, guys. The economy is down. Here's the thing. And it does coincide with the venture capital running out. And that's exactly what I think is going on, is that none of these companies were ever really profitable. Or people have decided to get their news elsewhere. They've decided to get their news from like actual real people who aren't on some corporate payroll. That's a possibility. I think that a lot of this stuff was always propped up artificially, and the market is course correcting, for sure. But we'll talk about Disney laying off at ABC. Disney's been cleaning house, man. I don't know. They're tossing everybody overboard, and I think it's going to get a lot worse. I don't think Disney's in as good a shape as they want you to believe. I think that they might actually be in much, much worse shape, because Disney has been known to juggle the books in their favor. I'm going to put it that way. Of course, there was a Disney whistleblower a few years ago who was silenced. Sandy Kuba. She came out and said that Disney was cooking the books. She worked in their accounting department for years, and I completely believe it. Based on what I saw in the time I was there, they tend to overinflate their numbers. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens here. But they're laying off a bunch of people at ABC News, people that have been there for years. They're shrinking the size of its executive team in the wake of layoffs ordered by the corporate parent Walt Disney Company, according to Variety. Among the senior execs leaving Disney, Wendy Fisher, the senior vice president of news gathering, who joined in 1989. Galen Gordon, a senior vice president of talent, strategy, and development. So it sounds like they're not going to be bringing new people in, right? Mary Noonan, vice president of talent, strategy, and development. Okay, this sounds like they're just not hiring any more talking heads. And Allison Rudnick, a media industry veteran who joined from CNN to represent ABC News president Kim Godwin as vice president of corporate communications. Others who are leaving is Chris Vlasto, a veteran senior executive producer. This person was here since 1999. In all, Disney is expected to cut 50 positions from the news unit, according to a person familiar with the matter, which produces Good Morning America, World News Tonight in 2020, some of ABC's best-known programs. TV news has become one of the industry's most competitive arenas, with executives eager to find live programming to lure the big crowd's advertisers' demand and local affiliates and cable distributors' desire. So, content is king. It's really interesting that CNN brought guys like Bill Maher on, to try to boost ratings. CNN's not doing so hot right now, guys. They're really not. None of these talking. I think people just don't trust the media anymore. It's a very complex situation, because we've got the money running out and the public turning away from mainstream media, going to places like YouTube, going to podcasts. More people are listening to Joe Rogan probably than watching Good Morning America these days. Who the hell knows? I don't know. I don't have the hard numbers in front of me, but a lot of people listen to podcasters. A lot of people get their news from other sources, and the days of the talking heads are coming to a close. And it doesn't help that there's word out there that AI is going to do a lot more for like gathering news. In fact, there's one site that does an AI newsletter. I saw it the other day, and they actually go around and they summarize all the stories from the internet and throw it into an email blast and send it out to you. So you don't need a talking head just telling you what's going on, So people are going to go for personalities that, have opinions on things, or maybe people have a different take on things. And just having a robot, in a suit reading the news off a teleprompter, it's not going to work anymore. Having gaming journos who don't game write non-reviews to suck the dicks of the game publishers is not going to work anymore. It's not working anymore. People can see through it. So we're going to have, just like I talked about with tech, we're going to have a leaner, meaner news organization. And I think we're going to go back to, I think in a lot of cases with the fan stuff, I think we're going to go back to zines, like digital zines. I think that's basically what YouTube has become. That's basically what some fan sites, have become now. Actually fan-run, fan-powered sites. They basically become zines. And, it's going to be news for fans, by fans. If you get occasional interviews, that's fantastic. But, you know, I don't think these corporations are going to, and a lot of them are, they're bankrolling these news outlets to be mouthpieces. And they don't have the money to do that anymore. The money's running out, guys. And we're going to see where the market really stands. We're going to see where audiences really stand. And a lot of people rejecting mainstream media. It's going to be a very interesting couple of years. Everything seems to be collapsing. Like everything we thought we knew about the internet, we thought we knew about media, you know, it's all like the last 10 or 12 years, maybe the last 15 years are going to be undone in the blink of an eye. And all it took was somebody to pull the Jenga piece from the bottom of the stack, and the whole damn thing is coming down. And we're gonna see exactly where we're at with things, and it's gonna be a very eye-opening experience for some people who have been living in ivory towers, you know, glass houses, bubbles, whatever you want to call it, who thought that this is the way the world actually worked and this is what people actually thought, and they're going to find out that they are actually in the minority. Very, very small minority. They just were handed megaphones and given these platforms that other people built. And now when they're faced with having to build a platform themselves, they're probably not going to be able to do it. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.